We can also use the midpoint formula to find the missing endpoint. If point M is the midpoint between the points P and Q, we can find the coordinates of the missing point. You can see we know the midpoint is 8, 1, and we know one of the endpoints, in this case P, is 8, -6. So we're trying to find out what is that other endpoint of Q. Well, we can use the midpoint formula, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and solve for the unknown. Well, we know that first coordinate should equal 8 because that is the x-coordinate of the midpoint. And we know that x1 is equal to 8 because we know one of the endpoint's coordinates. We're just solving then for x2. Or in this case, x1 and x2 could be interchanged, so that's why they're actually calling this x2 and the other one x1. It doesn't really matter for which one is which with your endpoints, as long as the midpoint is what you're setting that fraction equal to. So for the x-coordinate, we'll get 8 equals 8 plus x1 divided by 2. We can then multiply both sides by 2, and then we can subtract 8 to get that first coordinate of that missing point was 8. And then we'll do the same thing with the y values. We know that the midpoint's y value is 1, so that should equal the fraction of some value for y1. And then we know that y2 is -6, and then over 2. So we get 1 equals -6 plus y1 over 2. We multiply both sides by 2, and then we add 6, gives us that the other value of that endpoint, y1, is 8 as well. Putting them together, we then know that that other missing endpoint is 8, 8. And now that you have that missing endpoint, you always could check your work by then taking the two endpoints and quickly solving for the midpoint. You should get 8, 1, and that's how you know you did everything right. You checked your work. Another method that can be used to find the missing endpoint is to look at the relationship between both the x and the y coordinates and use the relationship again to calculate the missing endpoint. Right? You can follow the pattern. We can see that the coordinates for point Q are 8, 8, which is exactly the same answer that we found using the midpoint formula if we just look at the distances between the x values. Right? From P to M, you're not adding anything. So you also from M to Q want to not add anything. So if you add 0 to 8, you're going to still get 8. And then from -6 to 1, you're adding 7. So if you want to go from 1 to something else, you have to add 7 to 1, which will also give you 8. So either method can be used to give you that other missing endpoint.